With a low, rumbling piano chord under a slow, mysterious voice, imagine two of pop music's greatest icons standing on a magnificent stage, both gripped by the same spotlight, each ready to claim the throne with every step. One is a flamboyant showman whose glittering glasses reflect every camera flash. The other, a fearless, independent provocateur whose every move commands attention. Both have dominated the charts, filled stadiums, and redefined what it means to be a superstar. Yet behind the glitz and applause lies a tension stretching back decades, a silent but unforgettable rivalry. This is the story of Elton John and Madonna, a duel that, though rarely mentioned in recent years, once burned bright and fierce. When Elton John burst onto the scene in the early 1970s, something extraordinary was happening in the music world. Tall and slender, clad in glittering costumes and sporting pink or red-lensed glasses, he sat at his piano and sang with a sincerity that cut straight to the heart. Your Song and Rocket Man instantly became anthems for an entire generation. Each new album turned him into an even larger-than-life legend. Thanks to his unbreakable partnership with Bernie Taupin, Elton crafted melodies both timeless and deeply personal. Songs that held listeners spellbound, touching them in their most intimate places. By the time disco reigned supreme, Elton had already become a living legend. Then, in the early 1980s, a young woman from Michigan exploded onto New York's club scene, sweeping everyone off their feet. Madonna Louise Ciccone. With her rebellious, daring style, she burst onto the stage dressed to turn heads, and the dance floors exploded with pop beats. Like a virgin, Material Girl, Into the Groove. Her hits conquered radio waves and MTV alike. Madonna was not just a singer. She became the face of a generation, the queen of pop. Every move she made provoked controversy. She challenged norms and wrote her own rules. By 1985, she was more than a star. She was an undisputed icon. The collision of their paths seemed inevitable. Both orbited the same galaxy of fame and influence. Even though they never shared a stage, the press spoke of them in tandem whenever it sought a rivalry narrative. At first glance, their approaches to pop seemed worlds apart. Elton's heartfelt ballads versus Madonna's dance floor anthems. Yet beneath the surface, a spark of competition burned, fueled by pride and the refusal to be overshadowed. That spark ignited into flames in the early 2000s. Elton John, now in his late 50s, had weathered storms of fame, addiction, and reinvention. He was still recording and performing, and he seldom held back in interviews. In 2002, when news broke that Madonna had used a backing track during a televised performance, Elton didn't mince words. Anyone who can't sing live shouldn't step on stage. To him, Madonna's reliance on a pre-recorded track was a betrayal of the live music tradition he held sacred. In his eyes, she had sacrificed authenticity for spectacle. For Elton, art was rooted in passion and vulnerability. Madonna's perfectly choreographed show struck him like a jarring note. Madonna, as always, offered no direct response. Sometimes silence is more powerful than a shout, and that was her war strategy. Respond on stage rather than in headlines. Yet behind the scenes, as she electrified the LA sports arena with her energetic performance, the backing track echoed a different truth. The question on everyone's mind became, must pop stars choose between spectacle and sincerity? Had the new generation turned live performance into nothing more than a media spectacle, or was this just an evolution of music's collective journey? The debate hung in the air, unanswered, but spurred into motion by Elton's pointed challenge. 2 years later, in 2004, Madonna delivered her Bond theme, Die Another Day. Bond music had always been synonymous with orchestral grandeur and dramatic tension, so Madonna's electronic beats and provocative lyrics clashed with classic expectations. When the single dropped, Elton John's critique struck like thunder. "This is not a James Bond theme," he declared. It's a pop song masquerading as a Bond theme, and it fails. The press pounced, pitting the soulful piano legend against the provocative pop queen. Madonna's team countered that art can evolve, that Bond themes could be reimagined for a new generation with pulsing electronics and daring lyrics. But Elton and many purists believed the track had strayed too far from the iconic 007 sound. Was Die Another Day a refreshing reinvention or a betrayal of the classic Bond ethos? The public was divided, and the debate raged on. Perhaps the most personal blow to Madonna came in 2012. She wrote and produced a song for her film W.E., and at the Golden Globe Awards she won Best Original Song. Elton John had been nominated in the same category but lost. In the aftermath, Elton's husband, filmmaker David Furnish, took to social media with a bitter outburst. "Artistic integrity means nothing at these award shows," he wrote, implicitly criticizing Madonna. Social media exploded. Gossip sites ran headlines like, "Elton John's husband slams Madonna," and "Golden Globe drama, two icons collide." Privately, Elton appreciated Furnish's loyalty, but regretted making it so public. Madonna, on the other hand, seemed unfazed. She had survived "Like a Prayer" controversies and the Super Bowl backlash. Winning the Golden Globe validated her cinematic ambitions. Rumor held that, backstage, she and Elton exchanged polite, perfunctory pleasantries, but no real reconciliation took place. Then something unexpected happened. As the 2010s moved forward, both artists began focusing more on legacy than rivalry. Elton John announced his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour in 2018, a sprawling global farewell to fans after more than 5 decades at the top. Madonna, meanwhile, embraced reflection with her Madame X era in 2019 to 2020, celebrating her cultural impact and exploring new musical collaborations. The press began portraying them not as adversaries but as enduring pillars of pop, each having shaped music history in their own distinct way. By 2020, when the world grappled with a pandemic and the music industry ground to a halt, Elton and Madonna both turned inward. Elton spent lockdown polishing unreleased tracks, recording charity singles, and reflecting on his storied career. Madonna directed documentaries, curated art projects, and delivered intimate live stream performances. Without tours and stadium crowds, they shared a new longing to connect with fans more personally, without filters. And though neither ever publicly shook hands or offered praise, the tension that once crackled between them had largely faded. The debates over playback, Bond themes, and awards were now chapters in a well-thumbed history book. Yet even as the friction cooled, their names remained forever linked in pop culture's collective memory. Whenever a new generation discovers Elton John's heartfelt ballads or Madonna's fearless anthems, someone inevitably asks, weren't they rivals? The answer, complex but simple, is this. At one time, they pushed each other. Not out of hatred, but out of a fierce dedication to their own visions of musical greatness. Each demanded to be monumental, each held up a different mirror to the world, and invited fans to choose a side, or both. By the 2000s, they had each reached a seasoned phase of their careers, their legacies unassailable. Elton John, listening to his greatest hits from his home in Ibiza, might smile at the memory of calling out a playback performance. Madonna, in her London studio, might recall the sting of losing that Golden Globe. But neither lingers on those moments. They are busy weaving their legacies into the very fabric of music history. In the final analysis, you could argue there was never a clear winner or loser in their duel. Elton John's soaring piano chords and emotionally charged vocals moved millions to tears, while Madonna's unapologetic courage and cultural provocations inspired countless people to embrace their own power. Each created a kingdom the other could admire from afar. Their rivalry wasn't about malice, but about a relentless drive for excellence. a drive that produced timeless songs, unforgettable performances, and legacies that future generations will study for years to come. So what does this teach us? That sometimes the greatest rivalries are fueled not by hate, but by mutual perfectionism. That pushing someone else to be better can elevate the art for everyone. And that, in the end, the fiercest competitors can find peace. Not necessarily in harmony, but in a shared understanding of what it means to leave an indelible mark on the world. The piano chord fades, leaving a moment of reflective silence. Thank you for traveling through the tale of these two icons with me. If you find yourself humming an Elton John ballad or channeling Madonna's fearless energy, remember, sometimes true greatness ignites when artists refuse to back down. Until next time, keep listening, keep feeling, and keep believing in the power of music to transform.